This is the Virtual Radiology Environment's Scheduled Workflow feature. This is an exciting feature that we've built in the VRE, which allows users to fully simulate a scheduled workflow, which is the most common workflow typical in a radiology scenario. Users log into this page, go to Scheduled Workflow, and select the parts of data that they would like for the test. In this case, we'll run through all of the steps. As you can see, we will do the DICOM modality work list to query for the patient's header data, or portions of it. We will do a C-store, a storage commit, and the MPPS. And then in the end, we will have a report sent, automatically all driven with consistent patient identifiers and site identifiers across all the data parts that are used in the test. We can run this test for durations of time, controlling the intervals, controlling the number of modalities that hit the server, and many different flavors of how we do it. I'll run you through the wizard now. First thing we want to do is give the job a test, a name rather. We can set a global tag for the test, which appends an index. Every time a copy of the data is sent, the patient name is going to be unique. We could change this to be appending a random new value, or a new random alphanumeric value for the whole value, and many other flavors of rules that help to keep the data unique and perhaps useful for the type of test that you're running. We can configure the VRE server that's going to be used. We can set the transfer syntax for the DICOM that's sent. As you can see, there are many flavors of transfer syntax. We can set the duration of the test. We would like to run for 1 hour. And we'll do a 30-second pause between each one. Let's run this across 5 modalities and configure an email when the job is complete to tell us what's gone well and what hasn't. We click Next and we get more options. Let's configure the HL7 server that we're going to use for the test. We can validate the server exists. In this case, we can allow the VRE system to generate an ADT message on its own, and that's true for each of the message formats that we're using. In this case, we've chosen an ADT. So a sample ADT message from a site can be copied and pasted here. Prior to sending this HL7 message, only the values specified in the data tag configuration will be updated, i.e. the MRN, the patient name, address, etc. We could put in a sample ORM message, a common sample from a site. And we can do the same for an ORU. We can set a template. Because there could be multiple orders that are sent during the test, we can also configure a second order, and then the ORU, and a second ORU if required. Let's show an example of adding in our own ADT template. We can expand the control in the UI using the latest web technologies. We could say that the ORM generated by VRE is fine, as is, and we'll go and we'll add in an ORU. You'll notice here that we have an item that says number of ORM jobs and the number of ORU jobs. What this allows for is to configure how many ORM messages are sent as part of the test and how many ORU messages are sent as part of the test. The ordering and the proper order will be followed per scheduled workflow. We'll go hit the next page. Now we configure the DICOM portion of the test. we'll set up our AE title, set up the target AE title, leave the port. We'll leave it at 1 copy. And now we'll go to the VRE data system to retrieve the study that we'd like to use for this test. We'll use a CR from a well-known manufacturer. Query for that data. We have an access to 500 gigabytes of sample data sets from multiple vendors and multiple modalities. We'll pick one that suits our needs. We'll acquire the study UID for that sample data set. Rather than having that data sitting around at somebody's desk or violate a HIPAA violation with unsecure data, we have encrypted data here that we can use for our testing and not worry about patient confidentiality. We can generate a new study UID, a new series UID, and a new instance UID for each of the files in that study. If need be, we could set the UID route when a new UID is generated. Now we're going to set the work list configuration. For the modality work list server, we can verify that the server is available. We can edit particular tags that are relevant to the work list query. Since we've set the patient name above, we could set the patient ID as well, if need be. Then that'll be used as part of the query. We can set a storage commit server if that's necessary, and we can set the MPPS server. The storage commit can be synchronous or asynchronous. We can view the summary of our job before we run it. As you can see, all the parameters for our test have been set. We can confirm all the information for the types of job that we're running, and we can confirm everything and then run the test.